Hello subscribers and my dear students. As we know that we are going through the pandemic of COVID-19, so I request you to be safe at home and use all the precautions. Today I am back with another interesting video. Hope you learn from it. Let's start. Dear students, today my topic of discussion is on element of cost. When you say element of cost, the element is divided into three parts. First is materials, second labor, and third as expenses. Again, if we talk about material again divided into two parts. First of all, it is direct material and indirect material. Now let us understand what is material. Material is a basic substance used for producing a product, and this product is referred as material. Now what is direct material? Direct material are the materials which directly contribute to the production of the product and easily identifiable in the finished products. Okay. Then what is indirect material? Indirect material are other materials which is ancillary in the production of any finished product. Okay. For example, printing in stationery. This cannot be assigned to a specific or physical units, that is known as indirect material. Let us discuss about labor. What is labor? Labor is the total human efforts needed for conversion of materials into finished products. Labor may be again direct labor as well as indirect labor. Let us explain direct labor. Direct labor, the labor which takes active and direct plan in the production of a particular commodity. These direct labor are directly correlated to any specific activity of production. Example, process labor, productive labor, then operating labor, manufacturing labor, direct wages, etc. Now what is indirect labor? Indirect labor are those employees which do not directly take part in manufacturing process. Okay, which do not directly take part in manufacturing process and whose cost cannot be identified with individual cost center. Individual cost center. Till now we have discussed about material. Under material we get direct material, indirect material, then we got labor, under labor we got direct labor and indirect labor. Now we are going to discuss another part that is known as expenses. See, expenses is divided into two parts. First of all, it is direct expense and indirect expense. Direct expenses and indirect expenses. Now what is expenses? Expenses is the cost incurred in the production process but not included under material or labor are general expenses. Okay, direct expenses are the expenses which can be directly, conveniently, and wholly allocated to a specific cost center. Okay, and indirect expenses, all expenses other than direct expenses are indirect in nature. Clear? So we have learned about indirect expenses and direct expenses and indirect expenses under expenses. Now we learned about the most important one, that is overheads. How overhead is formed? Overhead is formed from three things: indirect material, indirect labor and indirect expenses give rise to what? Overhead. And overhead are basically of three types. Number one, it is factory overheads. Second is office and administratives, office and administration, and the third one is selling and distribution. In case of overheads, people generally use the term overhead and indirect expenses synonymously, but it is need to be understood that overhead has a wider meaning than indirect expenses. Overheads include the cost of indirect material, indirect labor and indirect expenses. Okay, now about factory overheads. Factory overheads are expenses incurred in the factory for smooth functioning, including production expenses, production management expenses. Yes, example again, rent rates. Yes, it includes all the expenses done in the factory. Next we have office expenses, office administration overheads. Yes, it includes the expenses relating to administration of business and the management. Expenses relating to management includes expenses relating to management and administration of business. Example, this one, rent of office, lighting expenses or heating expenses or stationery. And the last one we had selling and distribution overheads. In selling and distribution overhead, these expenses incurred for marketing of a commodity or securing orders or dispatching goods. Yes, so all the expenses relating to selling are being recorded here under selling overheads. So in this video we have discussed about the element of cost in the form of material, direct and indirect, labor, direct labor, indirect labor, and we have discussed expenses, direct expenses, indirect expenses, and we have discussed overhead. Under overhead we have discussed factory overheads. Then now we have discussed about office overheads, office and administration overheads, and selling overheads. So this is all about today's video. Tomorrow I'll be back with another video. Kindly subscribe my channel. Thank you for watching.